كل شيء وخذلها كل شيء وذللها كل شيء، وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء، وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء، وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء، وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء، وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء، وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء، وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء، وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس، يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تاتك العصام، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تابس الدعاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء، اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبت وكل خطيئة أخطأتها، اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك، وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك، وأن توزعني شكرك، وأن تلهمني ذكرك، اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع، أن تصامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا، وفي جميل هوالي متواضعا، اللهم واسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته، وأظم فيما عندك رغبته، اللهم أظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك، وخفي مكرك وذار أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك، ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك، اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائه ساترا، ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك، لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك، ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي، وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي، اللهم مولاي كم من خبير سترت، وكم من فاضح من البلاء يقلت، وكم من إثار وقيت، وكم من مكروه دفعت، وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرت، اللهم أذم بلائي وأفرت بي صوحالي، وقسرت بي أعمالي، وقادت بي أغلالي، وهبسني النفع بود أملي، وخذتني الدنيا بغرورها، ونفسي بجنايتها ومطالي. يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك أن لا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي، ولا تفزهني بخفي ما اطلعت علي من سري، ولا تعجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملت في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأهوال رؤوفا، وعلي في جميع الأمور أتوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ذري والندر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت في هوى نفسي، ولما ترز في من تزيين عدوي، فغرني بما أهوى واسعده على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد هدودك، وخالفت بعد أوامرك، فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي في قضاؤك، وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك، وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تكسيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا معترفا، لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني، ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في ساعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري، وفكني من الشد والثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي وذقة عظمي، يا من بدا خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتقضيتي، حبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد ما انتوى علي قلبي من معرفتك، ولهج به لساني من ذكرك، وانتقده زميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تزيى من ربيت، أو تبد من أدنيت، أو تشرد من آويت، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمت. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقا، وبشكرك مادحا، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بهلايتك محققا، وعلى زمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارح ساعة الأوطان تعبدك طائعا، وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنا ما كذا الظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا ربي. وأنت تعلم زعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، ألا أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكثو يسير بقاؤه كثير مدته. فكيف اعتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل الوقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو ولما منها أزج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدتي أم لطول البلاء ومدتي. فلئن سيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فحبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك، وهبني يا إلهي. صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النذر إلى كرامتك. أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي أفوق، فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لازجن إليك بين أهلها زجيج الآملين، ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولأبكين عليك بقى الفاقدين، ولأنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين. يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين، أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفتي، وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيتي، وحبس بين طباقها بجرمه وجريرتي، وهو يزج إليك زجيج مؤمل لرحمتك، ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك، ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يهرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم زعفا؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين طباقها وأنت تعلم صدقا؟ أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب؟ أم كيف يرجو فزلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها؟ هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك، ولا المعروف من فضلك، ولا مشبه لما عملت بالموحدين من برك وإحسانك. فباليقين يقته لولا ما قمت بي من تعذيب جاحدك، وقزيت بي من إخلاد معاندك، لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كانت لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك، أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدعا وتتولت بالإنعام متكرما. أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي أتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من علي جريتها، أن تبلي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمت وكل ذنب أذنبت وكل خبي أسررت وكل جهل عملته كتمت وأعلنت أخفيت وأزهرت وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارهم وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت أو إحسان فزلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بسطت أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي يا من بيده ناصيتي يا عليما بذري ومسكنتي يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك واسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورا وبخدمتك موصولا وأعمالي عندك مقبولا حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا يا سيدي يا من عليه مؤولي يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب قوي على خدمتك جواره واشدد على العزيمة جوانه وحبلي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك حتى أسرع إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في المبادرين واشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأدنو منك ذنوب المخلصين وأخافك مخافة الموقنين واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فارد ومن كادني فقد واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك واقرب منزلة منك وأخصم زلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك بفضلك وجد لي بجودك بجودك وعتف علي بمجدك وافذني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك واغفرني أثرتي واغفر ذلتي فإنك قزيت على عبادك بإبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وزمنت لهم العجاب فإليك يا ربي نسبت وجهي وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني مناي ولا تكتمن فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سريعا رضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم من راسه ماله الرجاء وسلاؤه البكاء يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النقام يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم صل. سورة الفاتحة.
My elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Can I ask everyone to please recite 3 louder salawat to welcome Dr. Akber Mithani? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali
سورة المباركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين شفيع المذنبين وخاتم النبيين نبينا وشفينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا محجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد وهو أصدق الصادقين وقوله الحق أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى آمنا بالله وصدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات الله محمد. Respected scholars, elders of the community, my brothers and sisters in Islam, our respected guests who have come from all over the world to attend the wedding, inshallah, this weekend, from various parts of the world. Salamun alaykum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The ayah of the Quran that I have recited is a very famous ayah that most of us are aware of, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in this ayah, He talks about, He says, say, O Muhammad, say, O Prophet, I do not ask for any recompense from you except for the love of my Ahlul Bayt, except for the love of my relatives and my next of kin. I don't want any other recompense. This verse of the Holy Quran is called the verse of love. It's the verse of love in the Holy Quran. And it is denoted as a recompense of prophethood, the ajr of Nabuwah. And the ajr of Nabuwah is to love the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Now it's important to point out here as a disclaimer when I give this lecture that love is always one where you have ma'rifah, where you have understanding of your beloved. Otherwise, the love is empty. Unless you have the understanding of your beloved, then the love is not really true love. The other disclaimer is that love is accompanied by obedience. When it comes to love in Islam, love is accompanied by obedience. Love, true love affects every single action of the human being. And it directs it to a special area, right? A special direction which is in harmony with the one who is the beloved. That is what the true love is, right? So anyone who claims to have love for the Holy Prophet and his exalted Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, if they have no ma'rifah of the Ahlul Bayt and the Holy Prophet, and they do not have obedience with the ways and the teachings of the Holy Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt, then that actually is not real love. That person, when he says that I love the Ahlul Bayt, is actually probably lying. Yeah? So the question then comes is, how do we manifest love? It's a Shuruat-e-Shadi Majlis, so this is why I've chosen the concept of love today, yeah? as a good concept to talk about in a Shurat Shadi Majlis. So how do we manifest love? You see, there is a counselor, there is a very famous psychologist. His name is Gary Chapman. Gary Chapman is a very famous psychologist and a marriage counselor, and he's written a book, and his book is titled The 5 Love Languages. Yeah? The Secret to Love That Lasts. That is his book. And so this is a very interesting book when you read it, because it proposes that the people experience love differently. And everybody has their own language of love. And he identifies 5 categories through which people receive and express love. When we know how we experience love, right, and we also understand ways that our partner experiences love, that is when it helps us to create a meaningful, healthy, and authentic connection with our beloved. Yeah? And this is what Gary Chapman talks about in this book, The 5 Love Languages. Huh? People, you see, people have different ways of experiencing and receiving love. Yeah? You know, it's true also in many different aspects, and that's what we're going to analyze. It's true in your personal relationships, right? It is true in your manifestation and expression of your love towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And it is also in your personal life as well as your religious and community life. The challenge is to be able to understand, have ma'rifah, and understand your language of love. And more importantly, be able to understand the love language of your partner. Right? It is important to do that in a way that is non-judgmental. And that is sometimes what the challenge is. So the whole point of these love languages is so that you are able to understand your love language, the one that you have, and the love language of your beloved. And not be judgmental. So the question is now, what are these 5 love languages, right? And how do we manifest those love languages in our personal lives, in our community lives? And how do people manifest love languages towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam? And are there any examples with the respect to the Holy Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt on how they manifested love within their own selves? That's what we want to talk about. So what are the 5 love languages? The first love language, Gary Chapman talks about this in his book, right? The love languages. The first love language is words of affirmation. Yes. Now, this love language consists of encouraging, positive words, or verbal, or even written acknowledgement of love and care. Right? Words of affirmation. This may be a love language that your partner has. That is maybe their love language. Or it may be your love language. And these compliments, words of encouragement can be very simple. It can be very simple, like you may say to your partner, you may say to somebody in your family that I love you, or you can be more intricate and, you can say I love you and I appreciate how much you care for the people in your life. I am grateful to you. These are all words of affirmation, right? If you look at the narrations of the Ahlul Bayt, you will find this love language very common in the narrations of the Ahlul Bayt. You will see that Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi used to express his love for Fatima Az-Zahraa salamullahi alayha, right? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And there are so many narrations where the Imam used to express with words of affirmation towards Fatima Az-Zahraa. It's a love language, right? The Holy Prophet, as you know, also expressed, this love language towards Fatima Az-Zahraa. Fatima, bid'atum minni. Yes, Fatima, you are a part of me. Right? This is our words of affirmation. Yeah? It's a very important love language. How do we manifest that in our religious lives when it comes to the Ahlul Bayt? For example, praising the Ahlul Bayt, doing the fazail of Ahlul Bayt, recitation of the ziyarah of the Ahlul Bayt, the poetry and the shairi and the mushaira and the marsiya and the matams that we recite, for example, are words of affirmation. And that is something maybe that an individual is expressing as his manifestation of love for the Ahlul Bayt, because that is his love language or her love language. Yeah? Words of affirmation. The second love language is acts of service. Gary Chapman talks about this as the second love language. Now, acts of service, when it comes to the Islamic context, is, in my opinion, perhaps one of the most important and probably the most priority as far as a love language is concerned from an Islamic perspective. Acts of service may be a way that you express love, or maybe that's the love language of your partner, and you are expecting your partner to appreciate that that is your love language. Right? I want to sikia hadi, eh? Amir umekaa nyuma leo, njoo mbele hapo kidogo. Njoo mbele hapo Amir. Come on, come and recite a salawat for Amir. Amir, come in front here. Amir, come in front. Yes, come. Yes? So this, acts of service, is another love language. Yes? Now, what is the acts of service? This is the mantra that people have, right? Where you say, actions speak louder than words. It's an act of service. That's what that's some people's love language, yes? Your love language is act of service, yes? For these people whose love language is acts of service, a helping hand makes them feel cared for, right? And doing something to lighten the load of your partner, for example, goes a very long way, yes? Doing, for example, house chores. Allahu Akbar. Yes? Doing house chores without being told to do so. Without being told to do so, doing house chores may be a manifestation of the love that your partner is seeking, because that is her or his love language. Yes? And you see this example very commonly with the Ahlul Bayt. Yes? The narrations are full of it. For example, how Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala, how he used to help Fatima Az-Zahraa, salamullahi alayha, in doing house chores. Yes? She would, he would grind the mill, she would cook, or he would cook. He would make the bread. He would clean up. He would do house chores. The house chore was the love of language, an act of service that Amirul Mu'mineen used. And you see this in fact, perhaps all of the A'immah and the Ahlul Bayt. You see acts of service as a very common love language of the Ahlul Bayt. In fact, Surah Ad-Dahr, which was revealed in the love of Fatima Az-Zahraa, salamullahi alayha, the act of service here was very clear, right? 3 nights the Ahlul Bayt fasted, and they did a nazar for the illness of Imam Hassan alayhi salam and Aba Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. And 3 nights they gave away food to the poor, right? What yut'ibuna at-ta'ama ala hubbihi miskinan wa yatiman wa asira. Yes? And they gave food out of love for him. For who? For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Out of love for Allah. To the poor, the orphan, and the captive. And then they said what? إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. Ahlul Bayt is saying, we only feed you for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For we desire from you neither a reward nor even thanks from you. We don't even want words of affirmation from you. It's an act of service, right? They give from that which they want and they need themselves and they want nothing in return. Heavy Yobana, act of service. So you do an act of service, you don't expect something in return. I did this, I washed the dishes today, so tomorrow. This is what acts of service is all about, right? It's not like how we do it today, is it? Because today we carry out one good act of service and immediately, alhamdulillah, we post it on Insta, yeah? I did this. Look at what good I have done, right? When you give it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you are loving your wife or your husband or your family member or your children and you are performing an act of service, when you are doing it for the community and you are performing an act of service for the community, that act of service is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when it is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, trust me, He will raise it and He will elevate it Himself. You see how we do acts of service for the Ahlul Bayt. Acts of service sometimes is one of the most common languages in our communities. And we don't appreciate it. We don't appreciate acts of service as a common language in our community. Right? Volunteering in the community, cleaning the center, cooking the niyaz, helping somebody in need. All these volunteer activities are acts of service. That may be the manifestation of the language of love of that young person who is carrying out act of service. Yeah? They do it for the love of the Ahlul Bayt. They do it for the love of Fatima Az-Zahraa. Yes? Helping someone, in any way, is an act of charity that is done just for the love of the Ahlul Bayt. It's a very important love language, yes? In a narration, Prophet Musa asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a beautiful narration. Prophet Musa asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he says, "Oh Allah, if you were a human being, what act of worship would you have done?" It's a brilliant question. Musa is Kalimullah. He was able to talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that if you were a human being, what act of worship would you have done? And Allah responds, "Oh Musa, I would have served the creation." He did not say to Musa, "I would have done this, I would have done so many du'as and so many amals and this thing." No, he said, my act of worship would be the service to the creation. That's the second love language. The third love language is receiving gifts. For some people, that is a love language. Yes? And, it is taught, it is sometimes, some people will say it's the thought that counts, yes? Not the price of the gift. Louis Vuitton bag would be good, but it's the thought that counts, yeah? People, with this love language, they appreciate receiving a symbol of their partner's affection, right? And that may be their love language. And you learn very quickly, if that is your partner's love language. You will learn really fast. Because you could say all kinds of words of affirmation and everything, but if you don't give that gift on that birthday or on that anniversary, May Allah save you, inshallah. Yes? The gift has to be carefully selected, right, by the giver. Sometimes, and the ladies will not like this, yes? Sometimes the gift can be just in the form of a dua. The ninth Imam, Imam Muhammad Taqi al-Jawad, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, gave his wife, al-Fadl, du'as in the form of mahr. In fact, those du'as can be found right now in the margins of Mifatihul Jinan. Yeah? I would ask you to think twice before you just give dua as a, receiving gifts. But you should consider it. Of course, the biggest example of this is the gift that the Holy Prophet ﷺ gave, recite a salawat on the Holy Prophet. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa alim. The gift that the Holy Prophet gave to Fatima Az-Zahraa, which is also known as the tasbih of Fatima Az-Zahraa. Yes? This is about receiving gifts, right? So when this is a love language, when you contextualize it to our relationship with the Ahlul Bayt, because we go back to that first ayah that I recited yet, that I don't want any ajr of nabuwwah other than the love of my Ahlul Bayt. Sometimes, this love language of receiving gifts is how we may, and some people may manifest that as the love language by, for example, donating towards a mosque, or donating towards a project, donating towards the creation of a center, giving something in the name of the Ahlul Bayt, yes? Hosting a majalis of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, giving, something for niyaz of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. These are love languages that some people manifest, yes? لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, He says, by no means shall you attain righteousness until you spend benevolently out of what you love. When you spend out of what you love, then you will be able to attain righteousness. Otherwise, you won't be able to attain righteousness. The fourth love language, of course, is, and Gary Chapman talks about this, is quality time. Yes? With this love language, what you most long for is your partner's undivided attention. Yes? Someone whose love language is quality time feels most appreciated when you are present, attentive, and mindful. Yes? I just tell you, man, you just got to go to the restaurants these days. I love it. Yes? We go to the restaurant, and we have a husband and wife date, and they're both there, and mashallah, they're both on the telephone. They're both just swiping, scrolling, the reels on Instagram, right? And it was a very interesting conversation I was having in the car with the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas and the millennials and all of these people, how they were saying that it's tough these days even to eat food without being able to watch a YouTube video at the same time. MashaAllah. Amazing, right? So quality time may be the love language of your relative, of your partner, right? That means that you make sure that your partner feels like they are a priority by turning off that device and not engaging in any distractions, making eye contact, sitting close with them, and using your active listening skills. Yes? Listening skills to engage with your partner. That may be their love language. And they may say to you, I don't think you love me. Because it's okay to say it, but you don't spend quality time with me. And how we manifest this love language towards the love of the Ahlul Bayt is sometimes, we give our quality time, for the love of the Ahlul Bayt. Yes? Going for ziyarah, for example. Being present in the majlis itself, right? That's a love language of quality time. Yes? Reflection and goal setting on how I can better emulate the lessons of the Ahlul Bayt in my life by giving your quality time. That's a love language. The fifth and final love language that Gary Chapman talks about in his book is physical touch. Yes? And, do you feel comfortable and secure when you are physically connected to your partner? And if that is the case, then understand that physical touch may be your primary love language. Yeah? And members of this group, read body language very closely, right? And they need that intimacy to touch and feel, to be feeling, affirmed, and bonded with somebody else, right? And this may be very simple things, right? Maybe a cuddle, maybe holding hands, maybe a hug or a kiss, or whatever it is. But that physical touch may be the important love language. And physical touch is very important even when it comes to the Ahlul Bayt, yeah? Our love language towards the Ahlul Bayt, for some people it's physical touch. It is actually holding the tasbih in your hands when you recite the tasbih of Fatima Az-Zahraa. It is actually holding the Quran because that physical touch of the Quran is your love language. It is maybe doing matam because that is your love language. Maybe it is touching the zari. Maybe it is touching the alam. Maybe it is touching the tabut because that may be the love language of that person, right? Physical touch. So these are the 5 love languages. And it's important to understand these 5 love languages. And it's very important in your personal lives and in your lives when it comes to your relationship with the Ahlul Bayt, as well as your relationship with the other members of the community. It's important to understand that love languages are not set in stone. They are malleable, right? And in fact, most people have more than one love language. It becomes even harder now because most people have more than one love language. So you've got to know which love language you have and which love language your partner has, right? And they can also shift and change over time. And they change because our needs are constantly changing. Our experiences are constantly changing. Because our experiences are constantly changing, our love language can also change over time. Sometimes it may just be age. It may be that as you age and you get older, you have a different love language than when you were younger. It may be something that changes over time. It can evolve, and we grow as we learn these love languages, and we try to understand ourselves, and we try to understand our beloved. Yes? Sometimes what you have, and in fact most times, you may have a primary love language, but you may have a secondary and a tertiary love language as well. And you want to be able to understand what's the primary love language. This love language, I can't goof up on. Right? I can't goof up on this one. But there is a secondary and a tertiary love language that you also must pay attention to. But the most important thing, my friends, is that when we are expressing our love languages, we have to understand that people express love in different ways. And this is what Gary Chapman talks about, right? And what is really important that as a community, we do not become judgmental. Yes? Sometimes we look at a youth, and the youth is volunteering in the kitchen. The youth is helping outside. the youth is cleaning up, the center. The youth is doing whatever they are doing. That's the act of service, maybe that primary love language of that young person. But because they are not present here in the majlis, listening to a boring lecture like mine, we judge them and say, but he doesn't come inside. He's just always not present inside. Don't be judgmental. Understand that people have different ways of manifesting and expressing love. And we need to be able to respect that. Right? Now, I want to close very quickly by just giving you a flavor of what we are gathered here for. One of the reasons, of course, is a Thursday night. And we are gathered here, every Thursday night, to remember the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. But tonight is a special night, and it's a special night for myself, my family, and the Aziz family as well, who are here from all over the world. And this is called the Shurwat-e-Shadi Majlis. Now, Shurwat-e-Shadi, some people think that, well, Shurwat-e-Shadi Majlis means it's a cultural thing. It's in the culture that we do. It's not in the culture. It's deeply rooted. It's deeply rooted in the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt. Right? And the best example of this Shurwat-e-Shadi Majlis, in fact, where it comes from, what it originates from, is that after the events of Karbala, in Medina, after the events of the Karbala and the Ahlul Bayt had gone back to Medina, a companion, a very close companion of our fourth holy Imam, Imam Sajjad salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, he came to the Imam and he said to Imam Sajjad, and he begged him to attend his daughter's wedding. And Imam alayhi salam says to this man, he says that we do not attend weddings after the event of Karbala. And this man, who was very close to the fourth Imam, he insisted and he said to the Imam, please, I need you to come and attend my daughter's wedding. It's very important for me. He was very close to the Imam. Imam says then to him that I will come on one condition. And he says, I will come and attend your wedding if you agree to recite the Masaib and the Musibah of Karbala. And particularly if you agree to recite the Masaib of my brother Ali ibn Akber. Because he says that my father also had a wish that Ali ibn Akber would become married, and he was never married, and this wish was never realized. So the man agreed. And the Imam came to the wedding, and he sat down and he told his companions to turn off the lights and the lanterns. Imam is sitting in the majlis and he tells his companion, turn off the lights and the lanterns. And the Imam says, the reason is that when we gather for the majalis of my father and the musibah is being recited, there may be some people who are embarrassed to cry if the lights are on. So turn off the lights. Sometimes some people, argue with us that, you recite Masaib and somebody goes and turns off the lights. Why are you doing that? It's the sunnah of the Imam. Imam says, turn off the lights. Because let somebody cry without needing to feel embarrassed. Now, what happened in this majlis is they turned off the lights. And when they turned off the lights and the majalis was recited, the musibah was recited, and everybody was weeping, after the majlis was finished, the lights were turned on again. And when the lights were turned on again, they could not find Imam Sajjad in the majlis. They could not find him. He was not there anymore. So this man, whose daughter was getting married, he got worried. He said, where did the Imam go? Because when the majalis started, when the musibah started, he was right here. Where did he go? And so they looked for him. And Imam alayhi salam was standing by the door where the shoes are kept. And he stood by the door, and a companion asked him, he says, Yabna Rasulillah, why are you standing by the door? And he said that, look, when you invited me, I was your guest. But he says, once you started the majalis of my father, Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, then you all became my guest. And that is the beauty of Sharwat Shadi, Majlis, where you gather and your host is Imam al-Sajjad, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. See, sometimes, I can tell you, family, friends, sometimes they may not attend, a wedding because of grudges, because of fighting, because of whatever it is. But when it comes to the majalis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the same people who may hold a grudge against you, they will attend the majlis of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. This is the beauty of the majlis of Sharwat Shadi. And so today, we remember this Imam. And we remember the musibah of the Imams. Because that is one of the ways that we express our love for the Ahlul Bayt, is to remember their musibah. And there are narrations about 3 Imams that really cried and shrieked loudly. There were Imams that shrieked and cried really loudly that no other Imam was seen or heard to shriek and cry loudly. The first Imam, the history tellers, who cried really loudly and shrieked loudly, especially when they were giving ghusl. These Imams cried when they were giving ghusl. The first Imam to cry loudly was Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Imam Ali, when he was giving ghusl to Fatima Az-Zahraa, Imam cried out so loudly that when he was asked, he said that as I was giving ghusl to my Fatima Az-Zahraa, I came across that broken rib of Fatima, that broken rib which was inflicted upon her when the door of her house was broken down by the Muslims, and the door fell on my Fatima, and our Muhsin got martyred. This is when Imam cried out loudly. The second Imam that cried out loudly was Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam. Imam al-Sajjad, when he was giving ghusl to Bibi Ruqayya, when he was giving ghusl to the 4-year-old Sakina, as he was giving, because he had asked the women of Sham to give ghusl to Bibi Sakina. But the women folk came to Imam Sajjad and said, Yabna Rasulullah, we will not give ghusl to this 4-year-old girl. Why will you not give ghusl to my sister? And they said, because we are afraid that she has been afflicted with some kind of a disease. For when we see her body is discolored. It has got patches of blue and black all over her body. We think that she may be infected with something. And Imam started to cry and shriek. And he said to the women, this is not because of any disease that is afflicted upon my sister. These are the bruises of the beatings of Shimr. These are the marks of the bruises of when my sister would be traveling from Kufa to Sham, and she would fall from the camel onto the ground. This is why her skin is so discolored. The third Imam that cried loudly when giving ghusl, who was the 5th holy Imam, the 5th Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, when he was giving ghusl to his father, 4th Imam, Imam al-Sajjad, he was so distressed at the time of ghusl that he started to shriek and cry out loudly. And he said that after many years, when I was giving ghusl to my father, I saw the marks of the chains on the body of my father. And those marks were such that they were as if the wounds were fresh on the body of my father. The whips on the back of my father that were inflicted upon him by Shimr, They were as if the wounds had just happened a few days ago. And this is why the fifth Imam would cry loudly. And the fifth Imam says that I now understand why when we returned to Medina and Muhammad Hanafiya came to hug Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, Imam Sajjad says to Muhammad Hanafiya, oh my uncle, just don't hug me too tight, for the whips of shimmer are still raw on my back and the pain is still there. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this day of Thursday night, where we commemorate the Masa'ib and the Musibah of the Ahlul Bayt. O Allah, the Mu'mineen and the Mu'minat who are gathered here, O Allah, accept their hajat. O Allah, there may have people in their families who may be ill or who may be sick. O Allah, with the wasila of the Ahlul Bayt, relieve their loved ones and the families of the loved ones from every affliction, every illness, and every sickness. We ask you, Allah, to give those who are sick in our communities a full, fast, and quick recovery. I have a special request. There is one family member of the Aziz family, the grandmother of Hadi, and she is quite ill right now in New York, and her name is Kulsumbai Murtaza Jafar, and she also is quite sick. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the wasila of the Ahlul Bayt, give her a full, fast, and quick recovery, inshallah. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the Majlis of Shurwat Shadi, where two souls are coming together. Two souls are coming together with the sunnah of the Ahlul Bayt, alayhimus salam. O Allah, give them their success both in this life and in the hereafter, inshallah. Give them the ability to be able to continuously follow the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt. Give them happiness both in this life and the hereafter. And we ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that those others in the community of our youngsters who are still not married, may Allah give them the opportunity to also find partners and also be able to express their languages of love, inshallah wa ta'ala. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to hasten the reappearance of our 12th Holy Imam and to make us amongst those who are the helpers of our Imam. Please recite a Surah Fatiha for the Isal Sawab of all marhumin. Al-Fatiha.
Brothers and sisters, before continuing with Yasin, we have a short announcement by Sister Madia Rashid about the toy drive. Sister Madia, whenever you're ready, please go ahead. You have to turn it on, right?
Salamun alaikum, dear respected scholars, brothers, and sisters. I am delighted to announce that Happy Health Society is organizing a toy drive at our mosque starting June 1st. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to all come together as a community and make a meaningful impact. The toy drive will run until June 30th, and we will set up a donation box in both the ladies and the gents foyer for your convenience. All contributions that are collected will be donated to BC Children's Hospital, where they will bring joy and comfort to children undergoing treatment and care. We encourage everyone to participate and contribute generously. By donating new or gently used toys, you will brighten the lives of many children in need and support the hospital's efforts to provide a nurturing environment for young patients. Let us come together and make a difference. Your contributions, big or small, can bring a big smile to a child's face and show our support to the journey towards health and happiness. Inshallah, we all find it in our hearts to give back to the children of our communities. Thank you so much.
My elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Before I begin, may I request Surah Al-Fatiha for the brother of my aunt, Al-Hajj Munir Bai Sajadina. He was the most humblest soul. He was a huge loss to the Mombasa community. Can I request Surah Al-Fatiha for him as well as all marhumin? Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أتخذ من دونه آلهة يردن الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كما هلقنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملت أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعموا من لو يشاء الله وطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتاز اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اسلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره نكس في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناهم من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشاها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم الفاتحة.
Brothers and sisters, we'll now have Tabarruk. Inshallah, at namaz time, if I can ask everyone to please proceed to the masjid for the salawat.
سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.